All right, so we don't have a lot of time. There are a few things encroaching on the schedule today, which means we got to jump into this one fairly quickly. In honor of The Final Reckoning, which will be officially open tomorrow, I thought it was time to start talking about some Mission Impossible movies. This one was supposed to be posted sooner after other reviews that were supposed to be put up. But, of course, life is happening and things are moving fairly swiftly. So it's time to talk about Mission Impossible, Rouge Nation. The mission is on. This popped up recently on a whim, and I hadn't seen it in ages, and I thought, what the heck, I'd watch it. And I watched it, and again, it still holds up, does not disappoint. Rouge Nation, for me, is the start of this new phase of Mission Impossible movies that really, I think, started with Mission Impossible 3, when you're starting to put Ethan and his team in unique situations. Ghost Protocol really broke away from what was this previously established narratively. For a while, I remember there was conversations about Jeremy Renner taking over the reins from Tom Cruise as sort of the new lead, and Ghost Protocol was a good case to make. Jeremy Renner at that time was having a pretty hot streak, and if you were going to have someone take it over, Jeremy Renner is a good choice. But then, the movie also reminds you that this is an Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt situation. There's a Hunt affair, and the team is just background support. And Rouge Nation, I understand obviously there were scheduling conflicts with Jeremy Renner dealing with the MCU stuff, and so that got in the way of his involvement in Rouge Nation. But he's still featured fairly substantially enough to where it's and he's good. He's still good. But again, if you thought that Tom Cruise was going to be slowing down past Ghost Protocol, Rouge Nation reminds you that that's not happening. As evidence of the opening sequence of the movie, where he's hanging off at the side of the plane. It's a thrilling opening. It's probably the strongest opening of the series. It's Bondian in that way. The ways that most of the Bond entries, not all of them, some of them have some kind of death-defying, some crazy stunt, something fantastic that's happening at the start of the movie just to get you pumped, to get you ready for what's to come. That is not a staple for Mission Impossible, the movies, as it for the start of the movies. But for Rouge Nation, it was a heck of an introduction before the titles, before the pre-title sequence, which is also amazing, by the way. These movies have, I think, from Ghost Protocol onward, you can make a case for Dead Reckoning, but the introductory sequences are very strong. And I think also, with the exception of the original Mission Impossible film, which is a throwback to the 1960s/70s television show, just modernized for the 90s, that never gets old. You can't lose with an intro like that. That gives you pieces of what's to come in a way that doesn't spoil anything for you and makes it still exciting, and it makes you want to see what's going on with this new adventure. And so Rouge Nation continues that tradition with a solid title sequence. This movie puts Ethan Hunt and the IMF against an organization called the Syndicate, which, if you've watched the television show, the Syndicate is an organization that has popped up multiple times. On the show, the Syndicate's aims are more local, shall we say, to that city, that area, wherever they're working. The Syndicate here is it's a rogue nation that is operating on a global scale, responsible for various mass terrorist events that resulted in massive loss of life, et cetera, right? You get the deal. The difference here, what's unique, is Ethan Hunt and his team are joined by Ilsa Faust, played by the wonderful Rebecca Ferguson, working her own angle against the syndicate undercover. And that puts her on the path with Ethan Hunt. So they're working the same mission from different angles. And what ensues is a thrilling adventure. The one thing that's apparent about this movie, and when you look at it across all of the movies, is that there's been a lack of consistency with higher ups in these movies, people who are doling out the missions. In the show, at least there was some degree of regularity, but there were different voices that you could hear. You never saw who was recording the messages and who's giving them, Phelps and his team, the missions, but there was some level of consistency, it felt like. And here, it's every other movie, there's a new leader, a new someone who is that the IMF has to answer to. Enter Alec Baldwin, who I thought was great. He was a great addition to the series, and he's fantastic in Fallout as well. The amount of powerhouse actors that have been in superior roles in these movies, and I think to some degree it works for the movies that they've always been different people. I might have liked at least one regular boss or someone that that the IMF is interacting with. That's just me. It doesn't hurt the experience for me. It's just a little thing I noticed, how across from 2 to 6, 7, or 2 to 8, really, I think, with the exception of 7, you have some key people. You got Anthony Hopkins in number 2. You got Lawrence Fishburne in number 3. Tom Wilkinson in number 4. 5 and 6, you have Alec Baldwin. But also you have Angela Bassett in number 6, which is wild. What the heck? And then 7, Kittredge is in the mix. Henry Cersei, but he's great, but I don't count him in the same group as the key. But Dead Reckoning does have Shea Wiggum, and then of course if you've seen the trailers, you know Angela Bassett returns for the final Reckoning. So it's just interesting mix. But Baldwin is great. It's no surprise. His acting chops and his ability to deliver massive amounts of dialogue very quickly and very sharply is thrilling. He has some of some cool lines in this movie, and it was cool to see him at first being on the offensive against the IMF, against Ethan and his team. He's a great challenge on top of the syndicate leader, played by Sean Harris. The big sell in this movie really is, I think, Ilsa Faust. She is hands down probably one of the best characters of all the series ever. You can make a strong case for Tandy Newton, because she was amazing in Mission Impossible 2, and it's a shame she never was for whatever reason was never able to come back to these movies. Maggie Q was also great in number 3, and she should have been a returning team member. Also, but next to those two, Ilsa Faust there's a reason she came back. There's a reason they brought her back for Fallout. Ilsa Faust is fantastic as a character, and she's given immense weight by Rebecca Ferguson. I've said this before in another review about Dune. I feel like Rebecca Ferguson in similar different movies has played spiritually a similar character, which is to say that she's a woman who reminds me of a femme fatale from the 1940s, early 1950s film noir detective stories. This woman who's mysterious, who is beautiful, who is cunning and uses every skill or everything at her disposal to get what she wants, and it's not always upfront. You suspect things about her. You don't know if you can fully trust her. She has all these different. She's like someone who moves in the shadows, and yet she's right there in your face. There's this whole other. She's alluring, and she's got all. It's you see that in the Dune movies. You see that in the Mission Impossible movies. You've seen that in the Reminiscence movie directed by Lisa Joy, Hugh Jackman. It's a great movie, by the way. That's another one I need to talk about this movie. But she's a similar character in that movie, in spirit. but each of them each movie, there's like a different sort of spice that she adds. And with the Mission Impossible movies, even though she's still, even when you got to know her and you knew you could trust her, that you do settle into this like warmth about her as a character. Even in this movie, I found we first meet her here, and she's someone who you don't know what her motives are really, and even when you know, you think you know, and then you don't know again. It's like the movie does a good job of giving us enough to chew on with her character, and not really fully knowing what her deal is until we just know what her deal is. She's great. She was a joy to watch, and she obviously has, I think, really good chemistry with Tom Cruise. And the way she's written, she's a character written with a great deal of agency and competency. She doesn't make like silly decisions, and it's just a joy to see when women are written just solidly and have agency and don't need to be saved all the time, and don't make dumb decisions behind this man or behind whatever it is. It's actually really, yeah, it was really, really good to see her. And of course, it's good to see the team. You got Luther, Ving Rhames, and Simon Pegg, and then of course Jeremy Renner. The music in this movie is great. It's a shift from Michael Giacchino's turn from 3 and 4, which felt more traditional and modern at the same time, much like in the same way with David Arnold and what he did with the Bond movies, how he took the essence of what John Barry did and modernized it. Didn't stray too far away from the sort of spirit of that music, and just gave it a little, modern spice. And I think Giacchino did something similar with his turn in this movie. Then the music sort of takes a natural progression. It doesn't go too far off to the techno, whatever, but it does. It stays true to the spirit of the music, going all the way back to the show. And I think that's when the music is at its best. The cinematography is top notch. I think you really start seeing the camera work has been really cool. There's been really weird, Dutch angles, different stuff going on, and just the particularly with the action sequences. And there are some solid ones in this movie. There's a couple chase scenes in there that are really strong, and of course you got a lot of Tom Cruise running. you got him running, which you need now. It's a requirement for these movies to have the movie on cruise control at least one point. And the way the movie captures all of that is pretty astounding, pretty thrilling. You can't look away. Anyway, look, I don't need to tell you. Most people know Rouge Nation is a good movie. It's got good acting, good action, which is really why you come. And then great Tom Cruise stunts, which is now, and has been for some time, the selling point of these movies. But I would argue that the relationship between Ethan Hunt and Ilse Faust in this movie is the other draw. It was for me. So the stunts are great, but I think in terms of the relational stuff, character stuff, the stunts take a second. The stunts take a backseat, particularly for this movie, for me. So anyway, give it a look if you haven't seen it in a while. If you're preparing yourself to see The Final Reckoning this week or this weekend, you might give Rouge Nation a watch. See what you think. I got to get going. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with me, talk movies. I'll be back with some more movies reviews pretty soon. In the meantime, I got a mission to accept. Mr. Mayfield, let's go.